And here we go, Frank Watson with Poof, another Zoom meeting. And this will be with John Lowe, hopefully. And we'll have certain interruptions. Dogs will be, one dog will be leaving us. 1 out of 2 is pretty good. So, and I think that I think I will open the door so that that's not a problem. Oh, dogs, oh, dogs, 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 dogs. Sue will be here, darling, to get busy. We don't want to get in the way of that in any way. So, we've been juggling times here. My buddy Tom Probasco will not be able to be here today. So we will miss him. Once again, my model for doing this was a fellow by the name of Alexander King. Alexander King wrote a book or two. The most notable book, in my mind, was titled "May This House Be Safe from Tigers." He said that he had a friend who always prayed that on any occasion that required prayer. And he finally asked him why he chose that particular prayer. And the fellow said he'd been praying it for many years and never once had his house been bothered by tigers. So he considered that to be efficacious. And I can certainly understand that, it worked after a manner of speaking. So life has been good enough. It's had its challenges and it has its times when we've met the challenge, and now we'll see if John meets the challenge of remembering that we've got a Zoom meeting at 2 o'clock on Thursday, which we have tried in the past to do Mondays and Wednesdays, but my doctor's appointments have been getting in the way. So I can use this bit of time to talk about other things until John either gets here or doesn't. And of course, I will have a choice on whether or not to post this. That's the nice thing about Zoom. One of the things that we're doing here is exploring technology and the rapid change that comes with it. There's, come on in, sis. Oh, no, well, this will be a time of dog barking. How you doing, sis?
I'm hanging.
Doing okay. Oh, yeah, I'm recording, but it's not important. I do this for recreation and not for money. So I can do what I want to do pretty much.
You. Hi, Barb. Okay. It's all tangled up. Why you just have to go the way it is? They're playing bingo down there for money, cash money. I see. All right, let me see. Come here.
So while Sue is petting dogs and all, I'll continue with what I'm doing. But in a way, the rapid advance of technology is not our friend. If you're like me, at 81 years old, I've got a lot of stuff already stored up here, and adding new stuff, there's too much opportunity for it to get lost amongst the things that are already stored. I have had an example of that today, doing some work, getting my granddaughter to handle some affairs for me, and to do that, we have to get authorizations and work with technical companies, and it really gets complicated. I The sound you hear back there is a Havanese terrier who uh, is not known for their high intelligence, but they have pretty good energy and are very lovable. Uh, if you're patient, and I'm taking that opportunity to improve my patience. So, did Sue leave?
Yes.
Okay. Well, not that that's a really great thing, but it lets me know where I'm at here. And I don't see John showing up. Uh, I'll call John and see if he's, well, it's just now 2 o'clock. So I'll give him a minute or two. I have decisions to make, and including how much I can prune back on some of the things that I'm involved in. I have a number of email pages and groups that I set up and administer. All these are done gratis. Uh, the idea being that I that's my way of having fun. I can't go out in the sun because I'm prone to skin cancer, and having had melanoma once, I would just as soon not have it again. So I play inside and online, and sometimes I play a real guitar, and that's fun. I've been playing guitar again a little bit after having put it down. My hands have arthritis, and that makes stringed instruments or any instruments a problem in one way or another. And I think I will call John, because I would hate for him to miss out on having some fun online. John's got me by a few years. I think he's 95, and he's a excellent person uh, to talk with. So we'll see if John picks up. 2 ringy dings. He may be doing some other things, or he may have just forgotten. Well, okay.
This is John. Please give me your name and number and try and call me again soon. Thank you.
Frank
It's
Watson.
not available.
Frank Watson, 43. Frank Watson, 317-435-1880. He may get that next week. So I'm trying to make some decisions about what to prune and where, and it's not easy, because I fall in love with all the stuff I do. I've got a number of groups for music in local areas, and I use the group name Acoustic Indiana, for a page, and then acoustic, IN for Indiana, followed by the city name, acoustic in Indy, acoustic in Muncie, acoustic in Louisville. And honestly, those groups were set up with the expectation that there would be people contributing to them, and that, you know, venues or bands or musicians, and I would pick from those things that might be of interest to the entire state. Traveling musicians could find places to book gigs, and what I hoped to do was to contribute toward a regional music scene. I really don't think that's working quite the way I had planned. There are some people that appreciate the Acoustic Indiana. Uh, the local groups, small membership, but there's some, but there's other groups that I could check for to feed Acoustic Indiana if I want to keep Acoustic Indiana. And what I'm doing has no cash flow. I do it all volunteer, and for the love of music and the belief that the creative process is the closest that we can get to God, because God is creator, or creating, as the case may be. And uh, I really, um, I'm trying to work with the ideas and the things I've started, and I'm coming to the conclusion that the local groups are redundant. I just think I'm going to close them down. I had assumed that I would have people who would volunteer to manage, to admin those groups, and they haven't materialized. So I will probably post this video, and uh, as a kind of an explanation as to what happened, snooze the groups, and think it over for a while before I actually close them. The page, I really care about a number of sound issues, and the page has kind of been um, um, aimed at and accommodating musical venues and artists who are playing music. And I had a son that was a songwriter, and who, to do what he loved as a profession, had to move to one of the centers of music. He chose Nashville, and I lost a lot of his company there. And as a matter of fact, the lack of adequate health care and the fact that he had diabetes led to his death while he was still in his 50s. So I understand that music centers are a fact of life, and I don't have any big grudge he loved Nashville. He found a home there. But I'd like to see more alternatives for local musicians to make a living playing music, and for local venues to provide opportunities for regional musicians to, the good musicians who, because of the economics of this thing, may be booking themselves. And I'd like to provide support for music stores that teach, given in particular that Indiana and probably most school systems in the U.S. shortchange music and the arts. Music and the arts are incredibly important. They're important to help people think, to help people have lives worth living. It's not enough just to have enough money to eat on. The music that you listen to and your understanding of music is important. All of that is part of what motivated me in creating Acoustic Indiana. But there's more. Music is a powerful way of remembering things. And memory loss is something that most of us will face if we live long enough. And when we remember the songs of our younger years, we will be able to access the related memories of where we heard uh, the songs we danced to, who we danced with, and maybe what happened later on in the evening. Learning an instrument actually builds brain cells, and music is stored in a different part of the brain than other memories. When you access the musical memories, they stimulate the memories that are related to them, who you danced with or where you heard the song first, that sort of thing. But there's more than that. We're all kind of familiar with the effects of light pollution. When we look at the background in back of me and look at the map or the surface there of the planet, you see all those bright spots. Those bright spots change the nature of life for everything living where they exist. If you go someplace where there are no bright spots and look up at the sky, you have a totally different experience. And when we listen, we have a totally different experience. When we go places where there are no factories, where there are no super highways or even highways, when we find the deep woods, such as still remain, and experience hearing the sounds of the natural world without the interference, the background noise of machinery and crowds of people talking or singing or amplified sounds. When you, for instance, go to a historical reenactment in one of the more remote places, you can get a sense of what life sounded like before the present modern age. The sounds of bells on harnesses for horses, the sounds of creaking wagon wheels, the sounds of people singing without amplification and music without amplification. You have to play and sing differently when you're not amplified. When you're amplified, you can get up close on that mic and you can croon just like you're singing in your sweetie's ear. But when you've got a couple of hundred people around you and you don't have any amplification, you got to push it out there. It's a whole different experience in singing. And the combination of sound and light affects the wildlife, it affects the ecology, it affects the biology of all living things that experience it. And what do we know about the extent to which that is so? We know that it's so because anything that we experience affects us. But what are the differences between an area with natural sound, including that of perhaps aircraft flying over, uh, and an area with a great deal of mechanical sound or created sound, technological sounds. Just for those of us who were around when 9/11 happened and the planes were all grounded, stop and think for a minute. Were you affected by looking up and not seeing contrails in the sky? How do you remember that? It was eerie for me. I had grown used to having planes in the sky and the contrails, the sounds of the aircraft, the sight of the aircraft. All these things and more, including the knowledge that vibration, sound vibration, can contribute to our healing, and it affects us spiritually. I've been using some of the recordings, binaural recordings, created by Sacred Acoustics, and they help with meditation. They help shut down the sound in my mind of my own mind chattering. And I think that part of the difficulty in not having that internal chatter is we have grown so used to chatter. I remember as a child, yeah, as a young person, living in a very rural area and going outside and just with all my senses open to pick up on what was around me, looking and listening and smelling the air. Smelling cucumbers might mean a copperhead snake. Certain kind of rattle might be a rattlesnake. You hear a certain kind of a peep, a certain kind of a peep, you might know what kind of a bird it was and whether it might be good to eat or not. and your footsteps would be something that the wildlife around you would be sensitive to. A whole sound system of a different sort than the one we talk about when we talk about sound systems that amplify music. More of a network, a sound network. I'm interested in those things. I think the parks are a wonderful resource uh, for grounding ourselves mentally, emotionally, and putting our senses back for a reset into the natural world. And I think that that natural world is important. So all of that is part of what I have in mind for Acoustic Indiana. Yes, I support music. I also support sacred music. I'm a Christian, and I'm a Christian who I believe in Jesus Christ. I don't believe that if Jesus Christ and Buddha uh, entered the same room, that a fight would break out. I don't think it's my duty as a Christian to provoke anyone. I'll share whatever I've got to share, and I like to share that as part of what I do, and it's honestly my faith and my respect for God's creation is part of it is a big part of what I do. Yes, I love music. I love I love the natural sounds of the earth, but I love with a love that comes to me through my spiritual life. And my spiritual life is my connection to the source of all creation through Jesus primarily. I I think Jesus said, "My Father has witnesses in other lands," and I'm not sure what he meant by that. Some theologians should really get to work on that. I think the mutually exclusive truth claim is a really damaging thing. Uh, I I really got a lot out of Thich Nhat Hanh, the wonderful Buddhist teacher, and how he talked about honoring the religion of your youth. I think that's important. And I think it's important for us to learn. Uh, I think that I think that the universe, the Tao, we Christians use the word God pretty freely. I think the ancient Hebrews maybe did not do so much, and I think that maybe they were wise. The book of the Tao tells us that the Tao that can be told is not the true Tao. I think that's I think that's pretty accurate. And and I think when we say God, we limit God. In our minds, we reduce God rather than just acknowledge Him. So that's my Christianity, and but I like to give thanks in what I do. I post uh, the morning prayer, the morning word from the PCUSA, and I have had some problems with some of the groups calling it spam. Well, if I got a bunch of groups to manage, I really don't have time to go to everybody and to keep posting things about, I'm a Christian and I'm doing this partly because I am a Christian and because I love music and because I love musicians, and I don't want to have to go through all that. I am, one acoustic Indiana, maybe I can manage that as long as we understand that creativity connection with the Tao, the source, with the God who is greater than the name that we give him. That connection to that creativity, I think, needs to be acknowledged. I have to acknowledge that because that's who I am. So, so I've got some decisions coming up and about, well, how am I going to continue with this? I like to write. I like to do video, but I like to write. And I have a limited amount of time and energy. Uh, I'm 81 years old, and my wife and I enjoy spending time together. Uh, I write about our lives. Right now, uh, I'm going to a lot of doctor's appointments, and uh, you know we have some help from our daughters and two wonderful stepdaughters, Angel 1 and Angel A, and 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 their brothers. Uh, Now brothers are not as good at doing caregiving day in and day out as daughters, and you can talk about you might want to change that or whatever, but hey, that's what is today, and it's probably going to be what is. If it's not what is tomorrow, we're probably all going to suffer. Traditionally, uh, families have depended on the women of the family to do a lot of that. I think it's important to acknowledge it and make sure that they don't lose too much money on the deal. But uh, we're dealing. My wife Barbara has some memory loss, but her thinker works pretty doggone good, and she sees a lot better than me. So we're a team, and we were right now. She's got a cold, has a cough, and you can hear it. And I'm grateful that I can hear it. My hearing is not great, but it's good enough. I can still play a little music, but I'm going to wrap this up because I don't want it to be too long. But I'm putting this out there as a way of saying uh, to you and to the universe and beyond the universe, to the universes, to the Tao that can't be told, uh, and saying, if you're interested in what I'm doing and want to comment, please do so. And if nobody's interested enough to comment or volunteer a little bit of time and energy, uh, I'll just feel okay about that too, because that'll mean that I'll just do what I'm going to do and just keep having fun. So this is fun. Playing with the technology is a fun thing to do. So uh, with that, uh, usually I wait until the free Zoom account times out on its own and goes poof. So I'm not going to take up that much time today, but I am just going to simulate the